forgive me for making this video right now, even though I have to keep my eye on my dog because there's some police dogs that are going to come by soon, and he's off leash, so he's going to want to go play with / get aggressive with them, which won't be good, obviously, for anybody. So anyway, so I just got to keep my eye on that. But I have to make the video now because this is when the thought's happening. I've been frustrated. Obviously, you've seen in my videos that I'm frustrated with people, right? Of not being reasonable, of not valuing truth or the investigation for truth, of not valuing evidence, imagination, of not being intellectually humble, of not being Eris, right? Of not being risen, right? Risen is rise is another acronym like Eris for exactly the same thing, but it's just, of course, a different order. An amalgam, anagram of an anagram. Yeah. Anyway, so you could say it's just an anagram. Anyway, but it's not. It's an acronym. It's the same acronym, but it's an acronym that's an anagram of the other acronym. But that's not actually its origin. Its origin is just as an acronym. None of that's important. Anyway, I've been frustrated with people, and it's gotten to the point where now it's seeing like the fruits of everything that I'm talking about. Not the fruits of everything that I'm talking about. The examples of everything that I'm talking about, right? These are, I mean, everything that's going on in the US right now can be explained by our clear failure to keep our unconscious mind in check. The fact that we believe whatever unconscious tells us and then just use our conscious to justify and explain it. Not even to explain, to justify it and to defend it. I mean, you just look at some of the, and it's insane. There are literally countries being run by religion. I had almost forgotten that until I watched Homeland last night. There are literally people that are like, I need you to respect my belief in this thing, and I don't need it to be based on evidence. They will also tell you that it's reasonable and sort of evidence-based if they can, but when they can't, they don't need it to be. And that's okay with them. And that's what a world that we live in, and these are the consequences. If you don't need to try to find truth, if truth doesn't really need to matter, or if truth can be whatever you feel and decide, and it doesn't need to be explainable, supportable, if it only needs to be justifiable by your bullshit, if it doesn't actually need to be explainable by the evidence and by reason and so on, well, this is what happens. You've got 200,000 dead Americans. You've got a new Supreme Court nomination that's going to take us back probably about 30 years, or at least keep us in, the 60s or the 50s. Take us back there and keep us there. Holy shit. But am I wrong? What if this is, and watch what intellectual humility looks like. Watch what skepticism itself looks like. What if it's all bullshit? What if everything that I'm saying is bullshit? I didn't finish college because I just couldn't get the work done. I have failed in a lot of jobs because I don't have sort of the social know-how to interact with people. What if this is all just an elaborate, grandiose destiny that I've woven for myself? I mean, think about it. Basically, what I'm saying in my videos is everybody else in the world is stupid and not thinking clearly. I mean, I also say that I'm stupid, but I also say that I'm smarter than most of you. So everybody else in the world is dumber than I am. Everybody is part of a very simple problem, but I'm the only one who sees it. And therefore, I'm the only one who can save the world. Of course, I don't actually think I'm the only one who see it, but it certainly feels that way sometimes. And I'm the only one who, I'm 1 out of 1,000 people who sees it. I'm 1 out of 10,000 people who literally, really, really sees it. I'm probably 1 out of 100 that sees the lack of evidence-based thinking. I mean, you see it, but you don't see it in yourself. So I'm probably anyway. So I'm special. I'm one of the only people who can see it and save the world. And not only all of that, not only am I the Messiah, I've sort of created this fantasy possibly where I'm the Messiah. Not only that, but this mission that I have, given to me by some God, whatever, this mission that I have explains all of my flaws. Of course I couldn't finish my assignments, because if I had finished my assignments, I would have been any one of the other people who see what I see, but have got cushy jobs, and so aren't trying to change the world, who've got their jobs and their families. Of course I couldn't, just work a menial job, because I need to focus on this mission. So that's why God took away sort of my ability to just interact with people, basically. Because he needed me to be focused and thinking about how to help people sort of just think better. Gosh, that's scary. And maybe that's what's happening. Maybe I'm just manic. Maybe I've just gotten some God complex. Or some savior, messiah, whatever complex. And I have to remind myself, well, there are certain books that have been written and that you read that you're basing this off on. One of them was written by a Nobel Prize winner. And it was a bestseller, Thinking Fast and Slow. So, but it's just tricky, because what if that part is true? And so there is some psychological stuff happening or something, but it's not nearly what I think that it is. I don't know when you're watching this, but anyway. So that's frustrating. Because it makes either narrative makes perfect sense to me. Either humans evolved to have an unconscious that would tell them what to believe, and not prohibit, and discourage that, and compel conviction in those beliefs. Okay, so let me say that again. Either the human brain evolves to have an unconscious that's pretty dogmatic, and a conscious that is, and then we mostly just use our conscious to just justify the dogmas and the instincts of our unconscious. And nobody really sees that, because that is the whole idea. You are supposed to just trust your unconscious, otherwise we wouldn't have survived. If we had been second-guessing our unconscious, we would not have survived. So that makes sense. And so then you've got all these people who, they understand the general concept of science, kind of, and that, facts matter, but they don't understand it sort of well enough to actually use any of those principles to doubt themselves, to progress, to evolve their ideas, and so on, to discuss with other people. So what ends up happening is facts just get perverted as weapons to justify whatever bullshit you instinctually believe. That makes sense to me. I know it's a little bit harder to process, maybe, or it's a little bit harder to digest, but that makes perfect sense to me. And then I just happen to be someone who's intelligent, but also has trouble in school. So luckily, I didn't get distracted by a career and a PhD and all of that. And so I'm able to sit in the woods and watch TV and think about these things, and sometimes make a terrible unedited video. Yeah, that's totally possible. So what does the evidence support? I don't know. The narratives are so complicated, I could find evidence to support either one. And how would I go through all the evidence to figure out which one it ultimately supports? I don't know. So, fuck me, dude.